And I am live talking about movies once again. Tonight we talk about a 2019 movie called Ready or Not. We also talk about the sequel that just came out last Friday. We also talk about Project El Mary, the new Ryan Gosling movie. A lot of new movies to talk about. We will do the usual thing by going through the plot, the distribution, and the Rotten Tomato, and we will do a proper review after covering so much about these three movies. Let's get into it. Let's get into Ready or Not, the first of the name. A very fun movie. Let's get into it now. I will screen share. There we go. Let's start with the plot of the first Ready or Not. A very enjoyable movie that I highly recommend. I like the sequel, but that original one is just the Omeron or Omron. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the plot is the following, and it's quite simple. A wife that just married a rich guy from a rich family gets to play a deadly and more spicy version of hide and seek. This is the premise of that wonderful first Ready or Not movie. And meet the Rotten Tomato of the original Ready or Not with the certified fresh 89% from the critique and the fresh 78% from the audience. Grace couldn't be happier after she marries the man of her dreams at his family luxurious estate. There's just one catch. She must now hide from them. This is the plot. So I think they framed it very well, just like how I framed it. Now let's get into the critique consensus. Smart, subversive, and darkly funny. Ready or Not is a crowd pleasing horror film with a giddily entertaining bite. I understand that, and I agree with that statement. Now, let's get into these so-called critique. The people only boomers take seriously, but they exist. They're there. They have opinions. Let's read the opinions. Cody Corral, Chicago Reader. A fresh score. Weaving comes alive as a hilarious and deeply macabre play on the final girl archetype, and it's nothing short of cathartic to cheer her and echo the rage that quickly consumes and empowers her. I agree with that statement. I like that statement. It reflects very well that movie. Well, lately my news come Australia. Yeah, I don't understand how people are so happy down there. But anyway, um, 3.5 out of 5. It's widely entertaining, and at a tight 90 minutes, it crackles with energy, never letting your attention waver. I get it. I understand that. I like it. Nice statement. Let's get into the next comment. Rotten from David Straight from the Australian with a 1 out of 5, so that'd be a 2 out of 10. Even by its own humble standard, the plot is poorly worked out. A few lame attempts at social commentary criticizing the rich are feeble in the extreme, and the dialogue is wretched. That's surprising. To each their own, I guess. But usually critique don't take that route. Maybe he got offended. The movie offended the critique, folks. David Day. Everyone did a great job on this movie. Truly witty banter mixed with horrendous scene of shocking brutality punctuates the just another day feel of this black comedy. Amazing. I like it. Now let's get into the audience review. So that one gave a 9 out of 10. Missed Gosley, MZ Gosley. A fun, twisted, dark comedy of a bride trying to survive her first night with her new upper class family, gore filled and action packed. Corey with a 10 out of 10, one of my all time favorite movies. I get that feeling. It's not, well, it's actually in some of my favorite, but it's kind of low, I'll be honest. It's more like a top 20 or maybe 30 territory. I don't know. Electrina with a 3 out of 5. That'd be a 6 out of 10. I was more a comedy horror, which I liked. Julio T, hilariously frightening with a 8 out of 10, folks. So the people liked, the people spoke. Let's get into the wiki page of Ready or Not. Directed by Matt Vettelini Alpin and Tyler Gillett. Guy Busick. Did I botch another name? I think I did. Sorry, folks. Sorry, folks. Eric Christopher Murphy. Produced by Trip Vincent James Vanderbilt, William Chirac, Bradley J. Fisher. Starring Samara Weaving, Adam O'Brody, Mark O'Brien, Elise Levesque, Nikki Gdenini, Henrik Suzinini, Andy McDowell. These names are weird. Really weird. Cinematography of Brett Jikiewicz. Edited by Tyrell Gibson. Music by Brian Tyler. Production companies Mythology Entertainment, Vision Film, Radio Silence Production. Distributed by Fox Searchlight Pictures. Release at Fantasia July 27, 2019 and August 21st, 2019 in the USA. Running time 95 minutes. Sorry about that. Country USA. Language English. Budget 6 million. Box office 57.6 million. You see, this is amazing numbers, folks. For once, common sense happens. It almost made 10 times its budget. It's massive gain. So even if the sequel bombed, they would have made crap load of money with the first one. So, um, we are back. And now that we covered the Rotten Tomato in the wiki page, I will get my review and hopefully the sequel will make some money because that was a very fun movie. I I enjoyed both movies in the franchise, so let's get into the first Ready or Not. What did I like? Well, pretty much everything. I had no issues whatsoever with this masterpiece, so I will agree with a lot of the comments out there. Um, so let's get into why did I like it so much? Well, there was very nice irony how the family wanted self-preservation, but then their dangerous game cost their lives. It was like karma in a hilarious dark way, and that was very enjoyable. Now another thing to really enjoy about that movie, people whom you surround yourself with makes who you are. So that family is full of not cases. So this is the lead choosing that family is actually making her kind of crazy. Nice idea how everyone in that movie is like some kind of freak there. And I will also say this: there was a cool team of repeating what's taught without too much thinking. They don't really think about it, and that's a commentary of, oh, it's just traditional thing. We will just do it. Don't question the process. Just do it. Sheep's mode, if one can call it that way. Um,
It was also interesting how rich people tend to like traditional weird cold things. Nice idea that the family would be filled with incompetent player. Hello there. Um, Hopefully you're fine, and we talk about the first Ready or Not right now, but after that review of the first one, we will get into the second one. But I I really enjoyed that aspect where they are really bad at the game, and that's how the lead kind of survived. And that can feel contrived, but that's also a parody. That's also the point of the movie. It's to poke fun at incompetence and how bad some players can play this game that's actually deadly. Nice team of some winning sometimes being about title and wealth more than love. And hello there, Arturo. Welcome to the stream. We currently talk about the first Ready or Not because this is like what spawned the franchise. And right after that review of the original Ready or Not, we will talk about the sequel. Now, I talked about some of the teams, and now let's get into my likes, even if I can already mention liking aspect of these teams. Both kids running around early in the movie to reveal weird things was kind of fun. The bride being seemingly perfect was kind of fun, but turns out she's not. The weird lore about the game was kind of fun. The humor was one of the highlights of that movie. You laughed nonstop. The husband saving the unknowing bride was kind of fun. The action was great. The gore was something, especially at the end. Um, Colorful cast of characters. Everyone really feels different, and we got like someone that throws a wrench in the game and basically helps her out, and he goes against the rest of the family, which is kind of fun. Nice dark humor, nice action. Both family members that rebel get nice growth, and that was some of the highlights of that movie when they realize, oh, that game is messed up. And overall, I will again say it a second time or a third time. I lost count. I adore this first movie. The first Ready or Not for me is a 10 out of 10, a masterpiece. It's kind of unfortunate the sequel doesn't follow suit. So if you have seen Ready or Not, the first one, let me know in the comments or in the chat. What did you think of it? It's always fun to hear other perspective. So now let's get into the sequel because there was a sequel. Let's talk about it. It just came out, and I will spoil the entire thing. So this is your warning. And just before I really get into the review, we will do the usual process where we get the wiki page and we get the Rotten Tomato to see if I am crazy once I get to review that movie. So let's get into it. Ready or not, here I come. There we go.
So now we can see a very interesting aspect where it's raw for the critique and it rose up for the audience. Very interesting. Moments after surviving an all-out attack from the Doma's family, Grace discovers she's reached the next level of the game. Now she's being hunted by like other players. Well, critic consensus. Tempting fate by picking up where it left off after an extended absence, Ready or Not 2 cheats the sequel curse, thanks in large part of Samara Weaving. Ferocious commitment to the bloody bits. I get that. I like the sequel. I think it's a worse sequel, but it is a sequel nonetheless. And I've seen on the corner of that rotten page, the stranger got 89. What is going on there? Anyway, um, let's get into the critic reviews. 2.5 out of 4. I suck at maths, but that's a fresh score there. Well, Leaving and Newton do great horror comedy work. By turns, beleaguered and enraged, and share some genuinely sweet, funny moments as they repair their relationship. That's kind of spoilery there. But I said it, spoiler ahead, you know. 3 out of 4. So that'd be like 75%. That's like 7.5 out of 10. And that's another fresh score, folks. Even if it does take a bit to justify its existence, Ready or Not 2 still ends up being suitably fun night out at the movies. Just not as much as the first feature was. And I didn't believe I would say that eventually one day, but I actually agree with a freaking critique out there, folks. I agree with that statement. I liked it. That's a good sequel. It's fresh, but it's not the first one. Another fresh score with 3 out of 5, so that'd be a 6. And a strong little white lies. While Bethany Alpin and Gillett had delivered a sequel which is ultimately entertaining and glides by easily on the strength of its cast and gleeful bloodshed, there's a sense that fresh idea or here. The next one, Lindsay Reeves. That's what the old thing can be. This stayed down to another fresh score. This movie probably isn't necessary and doesn't add much to its own story or canon, but it's still fun to watch. I agree with that. I agree 100%. Now the audience, Nello figures a 8 out of 10, folks. A very fun follow up, a funny and bloody. Tamara, a 10 out of 10. This movie definitely keeps you interested from beginning to end. A lot of unexpected surprise, but overall 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. And I agree with that. Well, not 10, but hey, think this was an amazing movie. I loved it. I just watched the first one before walking into this one and it topped it. I I get that feeling. I understand. I don't agree, but I understand. And that's the 10. Made the dick. I definitely did enjoy this movie. It was just a fun movie. And that's a 10 out of 10, folks, for the Jeremy Fur, and a 8 out of 10 for the second person, Matt Derrick. Let's get into the wiki page of the second Ready or Not movie. Ready or Not, here I come. Directed by Matt Bentilini Open, Tyler Gillett, written by Guy Busick, Christopher Murphy, so they are both back. Based on characters from these two persons, produced by Trip Vision, James Vanderbilt, William Chirac, Bradley J. Fisher, again, same people, starring Samara Weaving, Kaylee Newton, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sean Tozy, David Cronenberg, and Elijah Wood. I was actually surprised by Elijah in that movie. I quite enjoy Elijah character. So much charisma. That room was overflowing of charisma. Cinematography, Brad Giacalina, edited by J. Gigantias, music by Sven Folkomer. Now, I will tell you this. I will tell you that. It's kind of surprising how this movie was amazing, and it's like 7 years after the first one. Anyway, production companies Vincent Film, Mythology Entertainment, Radio Silence, distributed by Searchlight Pictures. Release date March 13, 2026. Sierra X Ray Sierra Whiskey. March 20, USA and Canada. Running time 108 minutes. Country USA. Language English. Budget 14 million. Box office 12 million. You see, this is a bit unfortunate. Um, they twice the budget. I guess inflation really impacted the budget, but I think that was a mistake because that's a sequel. They always pour more money into sequels, but you can't expect the same kind of gains back. Now, that movie has just been out for like 4 days now, so maybe it will make up more, but I think 12 million is a fair number. I think for that movie to bring some money back, I think it would need probably 25 to 30 million. I know the first one was a massive success, so maybe just because of that, we are kind of even there, but it's sad. It's sad. We need more movies like that. We need more of them. It's very unfortunate because I enjoyed both movies, but you know what is unfortunate is how this sequel is a small letdown. But let's get into the plot and then we will go into a more spoilery approach to that movie. But let's start with the plot. Two sisters are being hunted and they will get to work together to defend themselves from their hunters. This is the plot for the sequel of Ready or Not, a movie that just came out. And again, I will spoil the entire thing very soon.
And now it's the spoilery part. We talked about Ready or Not, Here I Come 2 this time around, so it's like the third warning, but I feel it's fair game. Let's talk about it. I did enjoy that sequel. It is a good sequel, but it's nowhere near as good as the original, so let's get into it. Um, I will start by saying I don't have as many extensive notes simply because I have seen Ready or Not 2 in theaters, and the first one I have seen it in the comfort of my house, and it's two very different setting because when I go at the theater, I wait for after the movie to put together some notes. While when I sit at home and watch something, I take notes on the fly at the moment. So it's two very different approach. So let's get into Ready or Not 2. Here I come. So my first and second issue are more of the same. I think they are two big instances in the movie where there's massive plot armors on characters. They simply sustain so much damage and yet they survive because they need to survive. It's like a survival horror type movie, also a comedy at the same time. But some places I could not stretch my suspension of disbelief anymore, and that's really how I felt in two big moments in the movie. I remember one being by the end and another one at some point in the middle. Unfortunately, again, I've seen that movie last Friday, so it's kind of far away in my memory. And when you mark down notes, it's mostly for streams like that. But then you tend to forget because again, that was at the theater. So my third issue, plot convenience. Rewind. Plot convenience. The lady showing up at the right time to save some of the characters' life. So that was mostly one of the girls was cornered by the the uncle or the guy that ended up being the winner, in quote, and she basically saves one of the two sisters, and that bothered me a lot. Now, these were my issues. Um, Nitpicks, I know, but that's how I feel. Plot armor, plot convenience. It doesn't hold itself together as well as the first movie. Now, again, I like that movie a lot, so let's get into the enjoyment and the greatness of Ready or Not 2. The lore and the action were amazing. The gore once again, it delivered. It did something great once again. The characters were quite colorful once again. It was very fun. The pacing was explosive because that movie is slightly longer than the first one, and yet you don't feel it. It's such a nice trip just to sit and watch the action unfold. Now, the teams. Someone can be willing to do anything just to be rich and have power. And that also applies to some of the rich folks because they're willing to basically off each other to get a price. Some people will always try to find a glitch in the system, a loophole to cheat. And that was kind of funny. That loophole was so great and yeah, very fun. With the lady with the sword that wanted one of the sister to marry her kids. That was basically a teenager, and that was so weird, but that was fire. That movie was fire. Um, Money rules over the world. That's something big about that movie. It rules over the world, and it's made abundantly clear. If you got money, you can get away with anything in that movie. Guilty until proven otherwise. Um, that was mostly early in the movie with arrest, because the movie really picks up right after the house blew up at the end of the first movie, and this is a direct sequel to that. Now, um, the big character arc for the lead. The lead decided to fight for her sister instead of running away because for her entire life, the lead ran away. She ran away and she ran away. And her big character arc is, you know what? I will stand up. I will basically sacrifice myself to save her. That's amazing growth. And the sister, they grow closer in the process and in that life or death situation as well. And again, I forgot to mention that, but there was a great moment in the trailer that was also great in the movie where the guy has a sniper and he tries to snipe, but then the mag slip off the socket, so he loses the bullets basically, and that was funny because again that was incompetence in full display. So that movie, you really feel like it's a sequel, it's in the same universe. Unfortunately, it's not as rock solid as the first one. It felt like a small downgrade. It's still a very good movie that I quite enjoy. It's just not as good as the first one. And I will say this: if you like the first one, maybe you will have a different take on it. Maybe you will like it more than I did. So I will give Ready or Not to Here I Come a 9 out of 10. And as of right now, I am around 20 movies from 2026 that I have seen. I know it's not a lot. I just don't have as much time because life happens. But that movie is in the higher end for me as of right now. It's like maybe top 10, I think, for this year. I might be wrong on that. But if you have seen Ready or Not, Here I Come. What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments or in the chat. Um, Again, I gave it 9 out of 10 because it is a great movie. Now let's talk about another movie. It's not a horror flick this time around. It's a space adventure. It's a great movie. It's Project El Mary, and be advised, be aware, we will spoil the entire thing, and we will do the usual process now. Let's get into it. Project El Mary. I will screen share. There we go. Project El Mary.
That was very hard for me to create that plot or to speak about the plot without any spoiler because this movie is amazing. It's about fighting loneliness and finding meaning. It's a movie that's very sad but very good and hopeful at the same time. It's a movie with a character that makes great decisions throughout the movie. It's Project El Mary. Let's get into the plot without spoiler, and then we will dive or rewind, dive deep into a more spoilery approach to the movie. But let's start with a non-spoilery part for this video with the plot of Project El Mary. Scientist turned into science teacher for middle schooler needs to help the best brain in the world to save said world. He embarks in a space mission to save Earth. And this is the plot for Project Hail Mary, and hopefully that movie gets the recognition it deserves. Project El Mary, the wiki page. Directed by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, screenplay by Drew Goddard. That name is familiar. Based on Project El Mary by Andy Weir. Produced by Amy Pascal. That name is familiar. Ryan Gosling, Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, Edita Sud, Rachel O'Connor, Andy Weir. So the original writer was involved, which is great. Starring Ryan Gosling, Sandra Oller. I recognize her. That was the lady. James Otis Lionel Boyce. Cinematography Craig Fraser. Edited by Chris Dickens, Joel Negrin. Music by Danielle Pemberton. Production companies Lord Miller Production, Pascal Pictures, Open Invite Film, Waypoint Entertainment, distributed by Amazon MGM Studios, United States and Canada, Sony Picture Releasing International, international basically. Release date March 9, 2026, Empire Leicester Square, March 20, 2026, USA and Canada. Running time 156 minutes, so that's 2 hour and a half. And I'm surprised I was up for that long. Country USA, language English, a budget um 248 million gross and 200 million net. Box office 141 million. Hopefully that movie is successful because I've read comments and I think people enjoyed it. I know I did. It deserves money. It deserves nomination. So maybe we will find some spoilers ahead. So be aware of that. Believe in the El Mary. Um, that's amazing. These scores are very tight, very close. I smell a sinner vibe from Project El Mary. Science teacher Ryland Grace Ryan Gosling wakes up on a spaceship light years from home with no recollection of who he is and how he got there, with a 94% of from the critique, which is a certified fresh, 96% from the audience, which is a very odd score. So they both agree on that. So, critic consensus: a visually dazzling space odyssey that's carried along effortlessly by the gravitational pull of Ryan Gosling at his most winning. Project El Mary is near miraculous fusion of smarts and art. I agree with that. Audience says one stellar Gosling plus one arachnid-ish alien plus one El Mary mission lightning in a spaceship. I like that fun. I agree with that. Um, let's get into the critique reviews with a fresh Project El Mary from John Anderson American Magazine. Certainly qualifies as an uplifting experience at the cinema, being a mix of selflessness, sacrifice, camaraderie, and even a certain amount of melancholy. And you know what's fascinating? That movie lasted for like 2 hour and a half, and I wasn't bored. Respect for that. Um, Sarah Michelle Fetters, moviefreak.com, with a 7.5 out of 10 as far as arousing interstellar science fiction pulp adventurers are concerned. Director Phil Lord and Christopher Miller pull out the stop with the monumentally entertaining project El Mary. Rotten score, interesting. So from Wendy Edie Observer UK, what's not to like? There's the fact that Project El Mary is so this wants to be loved. For all the heartwarming button pushing, there's something off-putting about a picture. I guess that's to each your own, you know. Valerie Given, I can pronounce that. An uplifting adventure is fresh, certified learning You really do have the right stuff, including a breathtaking IMAX imagery. The big hearted sci fi story hinges on the enchanting interstellar friendship with men and alien, which is kind of rare. Glenn with a 10 out of 10. You will laugh, you will cry, you will scream, you will sing. It got everything. Ryan Gosling is outstanding. Rocky is solid. I agree with every statement there. Um, I love this movie. Francis N. 4 stars. Movie or 2 stars. That means a 4 out of 10. Movie was dull with a few good moments, music wonderful but very dominant, just a mediocre film. I disagree, and a lot of people will also disagree on that. Juan, well paced, agreed. Well presented and just great heartfelt movie, more than just science. It's also a friendship. I agree with that, Juan. I agree with you. 10 out of 10. Valentiadi, 10 out of 10. Grace and Rocky are my heroes. People did resonate with that amazing movie.
So, we are back with our review of Project El Mary. Now, I will tell you this. I have no issues whatsoever with this movie. This movie is what I call, again, a masterpiece. And now we had two masterpieces tonight, but I feel like Project El Mary, it did resonate a lot with me. That was a wonderful movie that I quite enjoy. And usually, when your movie is more than 2 hour or 2 hour and a half, you lose me. But with this one, it wasn't the case. I was hooked. I was engaged. I was entertained, and the way they tell the story is quite fun. A lot of other movie did tell the same story, or not the same story, a story similar with a very similar approach. But yeah, so we basically have some sequence in the present where he's lost in space and he needs to figure out that mystery, and we also get these flashbacks where he's back on Earth, and at the very end you realize, well, he didn't choose to go in space. He was kind of forced into that position, and that's such a big reveal. And it's also refreshing and very different because that guy turned out to be a hero against his own will. He didn't choose that, but eventually he kind of earns it. And I think that's wonderful. It's great characterization there. So let's get into the likes and the teams. Um, the likes first. Amazing humor. I did tear up 3 or 4 times. I lost the count. I felt so many emotions watching that. I cannot wait for future watches of that movie. And it has art. It makes you feel things. If you get invested with the characters and what's going on the screen, like if you're someone to tear up with movies, you will with this one. Um, Good music. Rocky not having boundaries was a nice touch, a nice aspect to his character, and the lore was kind of solid, great at showing over telling. Now the next thing to enjoy, it was off to interpretation when it came to the ending. Did he stay there with the other aliens because he loved his friendship? Did he come back to Earth? Is Earth actually surviving the the apocalypse, or the Armageddon, the doomsday? Will they survive that? There's so many unanswered questions, but I'm fine with it because it gives rewatch value to some extent, and it also gives different experience to most people. um Now I will also say this: it felt refreshing to finally see, rewind, to finally see great aliens out there, aliens that don't want world domination or something like that. It felt refreshing because that's a good alien. He's cool, and it gave like some kind of reverse city where um, the guy leaves home and he wants to come back, but he can't, and he teams up with that alien and he adopts the world of the alien. Um, reverse city. Now let's get into the teams and the character arcs because they were something else. They were something I did enjoy a lot. And this is why I praise so much that movie. And this is why that movie is in my book's top tier. Um, so the first thing is team of finding meaning to life. The other team is team of sacrifice for the greater good. Team of different types of intelligence because you see these alien, they were very smart about things, but they were also very stupid about other things. And that was the exact same with Grace and the humans. It was so fascinating that then teaming up kind of solved the puzzle. Team of becoming stronger when you find someone to fight for. Team of empathy and like understanding language and understanding each other. Character arc, Rocky loving enough Grace to sacrifice himself so nobody else dies on his watch. Because part of his strategy is he was powerless. It's also part of Grace's strategy, but Grace's arc was something else. Well, Rocky, it was really like, do I become competent enough to save my crew or my people? And Rocky succeeded with that great character arc. Now, Grace going from coward to brave and selfless, willing to die so Rocky could survive. That was something else because he was kind of forced into that mission, Grace. And at the end, he kind of chose to really truly embrace being a hero. And I will say this movie is again something else. I liked Ryan Gosling. I think he's a top tier actor there. I really enjoy pretty much anything he's in. I remember watching him in The Fall Guy. I like so much The Fall Guy. I also remember him from Barbie. I wasn't the biggest fan of Barbie, but hey, Barbie. Um, to get back to Project Hail Mary, I will give this movie a 10 out of 10. And I will say proudly, and maybe I will sound crazy once again, but this is hands down my favorite movie among all. So up to now, 2026 for me has delivered an amazing movie with Dog 51, and now Project Hail Mary. Folks, you gotta see it. So if you have seen Project Hail Mary, what did you think of Project Hail Mary? You know what to do. Let me know in the comment. Let me know in the chat. And we will talk very soon. This is the outro, and what happens next on the channel? Well, a lot of things are happening on the channel. So, um, tomorrow, it's Friday. I will try to finish Resident Evil 9 Requiem if I can beat the final boss and be good about it. And I will also try to start a new playthrough. That playthrough will be on the classic difficulty. I suspect it's harder than modern, and I will try to be more evasive. And anyway, that's a new playthrough I will start tomorrow right after beating the boss. What else? Well, Saturday we talk about or reacting to things. And I know I said that would be the last political stream, so this week will be a transition from the old format to the new one. We will cover a Joe Rogan interview with Pierre Polyev. Even if I said I wouldn't be covering Canadian politics, that's the transition stream. I finger crossed. I don't feel forced into covering Canadian politics again for quite some time because I don't know what's going on. And well, next week we talked about probably a new movie that comes out tomorrow. If I have the time to watch it, we'll cover that Monday or Thursday. I don't know yet. Tuesday, we talk about Fantastic Four. 4 recent movies in the last 20 years. Maybe we'll have a guest. I don't know. We will see how it goes. And with this, maybe this weekend I will also have a Advanced Wars by Web stream. We will see how it goes. Anyway, what did you think? What are you up to? Like, comment, subscribe, and we will talk soon. We will see each other soon if you want. If you want to see more of that, well, you know what to do. Take care. Have a great one. See you.